Today in history, in 1997, the age of Aquarius dawned, and some astrologers believe because for the first time since 1475, a number of planets, the sun and the moon, were aligned in a perfect six-pointed star in the first degrees of Aquarius.
Huh. Interesting. Welcome to What the Fuck History, where we discuss the wackiest and weirdest things that make us say, well, what the fuck history. I am your host, Zachary, and don't you worry, I am still your Huckleberry.
My name is Meghan, and hopefully it's not still the age of Aquarius, because this is embarrassing. I'm a Libra.
And I'm Matt. Today I learned a thing, and in a bit, so will you.
Oh.
The thing that I learned is pertinent to the thing that I'm talking about, so.
Oh, okay, so you're just gonna lead us there, alright.
I'll get you there eventually.
Okay.
Oh, thanks.
Somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Excellent.
How are you guys?
Horny for knowledge.
Wow, okay.
Not always.
Not where I was expecting this to go.
Where did you want it to go?
I always expect the unexpected with me, Matt. Come on
that's
now.
not unexpected. Thinking any
where...
hour-long conversation with you, you'd mention how horny you are for knowledge. At least twice.
At least twice.
I don't know where I expected it to go,
direction.
Megan, but I wasn't expecting that right off the bat, I guess, is what I was...
Oh, okay.
Is what I was thinking.
So, Matt, since you're not going to take up some time with your usual Today I Learned...
Yeah.
I would like to inform both of you.
Uh-oh.
In a good thing.
Uh-oh.
I had a lovely conversation with one of our Patreon members.
Oh,
Brittany,
that's nice.
Who...
Brittany!
Who it works in marketing and listened to the bonus
Works in
episode about
marketing.
business.
Uh-huh.
Business!
And was like, hey, I work in marketing. Here's like 12 more ideas. And my immediate response was, thank you. We love this from you. If we had any money, we'd hire you.
No. We wouldn't.
What?
We want all that money for ourselves.
I would.
Yeah, that's right. Capitalism wins this podcast, baby.
We couldn't even pay our interns.
Well, that's why I was joking if we had any money. And one of the things that we had talked about was, the wanting to do a Discord channel.
Yeah.
I don't remember what led me to this. There was something that was there, and then I lost it.
Yeah.
But
We'll circle back.
The circle back to this and like the information that I'm getting is I have made a Discord channel for What the Fuck History that will be a place that
we did it.
The community can come to. We're testing it out with patrons first to kind of just like see how the community meshes, and also so that like
I feel like we should be in there.
I was just about to say, I can add you both to this.
Dude.
I started it like a day ago.
It's
just
fucking
to like test the waters.
wild that we should be in a Discord that our podcast is about.
I literally was like, hey, let me wait and see if like anything is interactive with this, and like then go and add you two into it. Because
Did people interactify?
There's two people who are currently on the Discord. So
Are they currently interactifying?
I mean, I guess they're interactifying.
Are they talking to each other?
It's very brief. Like, there's been a couple messages that have been sent.
It's terrifying.
But like, there's people there, and I don't know what to do.
You just talk to them. You talk about, your gamer strats.
Exactly. Where am I?
That'll be a good first message.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have to make that look a little bit more official, but aside from that, I have no problems with this existing.
Yeah. I think the other thing is, like, I like, was one of the things that I had been, like, thinking about, and you were, immediately you have someone being like, you're here, I assume. I love that. I can't remember how that related to something we were about to talk about, but...
Well, that was really nice of Brittany, though, to be like,
Yeah.
hello, I have, like,
I think
9
I just wanted to highlight
more
that
suggestions.
our fans are wonderful and our listeners are
College.
wonderful. Like,
Well, thanks, Brittany.
Thanks, Brittany.
We will
Yeah,
not be
I think that's
hiring
really-
you
Yeah, sorry, we have no money.
because we want all the money.
Well, I mean, we barely hire ourselves.
Yeah.
So,
I don't get paid
True.
enough to hire other people. Anyways,
But
there was
Yeah.
something. There was something I was gonna say.
you gotta tell them the order.
It was gonna. Fuck! It
You
was
gotta-
gonna be something like, "All right, dear listeners, we have set our strikes to 0, and we have played a fake game of rock paper scissors. And tonight, our order is Zach, followed by me, followed by Meghan."
thank you for that wonderful
just, like,
introduction. That
I
was
was
great.
falling down a well at the end there.
Yeah, why did my name fall down a well?
It wasn't your name; it was me.
What's wrong, Lassie? Matt's fell down a well again?
Well, shit. Get the crane.
All right.
Get the crane.
Last week, we discussed the life and times of the infamous Doc Holliday, or at least I discussed the life and times of the infamous Doc Holliday, and ended the episode with the lead up to the shootout at the OK Corral. And I figured I usually have a habit of leaving everyone in the weeds sometimes, so for once, I'm going to be nice, and I'm just going to hop right to it. I'm not going to leave you on a cliffhanger.
Went, and you already left us on a cliffhanger.
Well, I'm not going to leave you on a cliffhanger that I never fucking circle back to. I'm actually circling back.
Oh.
For once, I'm here to rescue you.
This is the part where he circles back.
Yes, this is the part where I circle back. Now, the shootout at the OK Corral is by far the most famous gunfight in the history of the American West.
It's actually canonically where the phrase, "this town ain't big enough for the both of us" came from.
Is it really? I did not know that.
That was
Is that true?
No.
Thanks for lying to me, Matt, and making me look like a fucking idiot.
I didn't just lie to you. I lied to our listening public.
You lied to everyone, and you almost got away with it.
I would have gotten away with
Here's
it if
a
you hadn't
secret.
pressed me so hard.
We love lies here.
We do love lying.
the Procopius
I
method.
Procopiused it.
You Procopius
Oh
it.
man, I got Procopius all over my pants.
No. No.
Oh no! But
So
yeah,
anyways.
it is the most famous gunfight in
Devastating.
American history.
Yeah.
Or not, maybe the American West. Despite that, the gunfight lasted maybe a minute, maybe.
That's about how long I last, so.
And
You gotta stop.
fucking
You gotta.
All right. Yeah, I guess that we're gonna just we're gonna leave that one there.
I mean, in every gunfight I've been in, I've only lasted about a minute.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay.
I hear you.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Zach claims to be the
There
horniest
is-
one of the podcast, but when someone says something vaguely sexual, it throws him off completely.
Yeah, because, like, you stole my jazz.
Oh shit, sorry. Was that what you were gonna say?
No.
Were
I
you gonna
last more
cop
than a
to
minute.
being only a minute?
No, I last more than a minute.
Okay, great.
So it lasted barely a minute, and for better or worse, became synonymous with how the Old West in America was, having, like, wild gunfights and crazy outlaws. Which, side note, it was not as crazy as portrayed in the movies, but we still love those movies anyway. Fun
Hey guys,
fact, it
if
was...
between the last podcast where Zach started talking about this and this podcast where he's finishing talking about it, if you have not watched Tombstone,
What the fuck are you doing?
fix yourself.
I still haven't watched
Hey,
Tombstone.
Megan, we're not here to talk about
Yeah.
you right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'll just go fuck myself. Bye.
So,
It's about time for Meghan to go home, so...
a little background, and by a little background, I mean a lot of background. Last week we talked about how Doc had moved to Tombstone, which was in the 1880s. And in the 1880s, Tombstone is one of the biggest boom towns for mining. And a quick explanation about boom towns. It was a term that was used for towns that had like found gold or silver near them, and therefore everyone just flocked to them very quickly. There was silver found in the areas around Tombstone, and everyone was like, we're heading to them there hills, we want some. In just 2 years, the town's population went from 100 people to more than 7,000 people, a number which did not include people of Chinese and Mexican descent or women and children, because yes, as cool as cowboys are, fuck is it really fucking racist and sexist as hell in the Old West. So
it's racist and
7,000
sexist as hell in America presently, so...
Well, yeah, but like...
We didn't want to say it, God.
No.
What do you mean we didn't want to say it? We say it.
We say it all the time.
Every week.
Absolutely. Like, but to a point where, like, even now, being like, yes, we still have a lot of issues, I look back and go, damn, yeah, there was an anti-Chinese league in Tombstone. That's fucked up. So, you know... people are still racist and horrible today. They were just really upfront about it back then. Anyway, so...
Is that better or worse?
Yeah, I think worse. Because, like, they were upfront about it and they got away with it.
You think it's worse? Because, like, now you just have to... I feel like people have to deal with, like, that weird aggression where it's just like, are they being... Are they? And then you gotta think about it way more.
Yeah, I guess. But, like, again, it's less... You gotta think about it, but there's sides that are a lot less accepting. Whereas it's so upfront that everyone just kind of accepts it back then. And that's just complacency, and that's bad. Don't be complacent.
Complacency
Centrists
still happens
don't get
today.
anywhere.
There was...
Centrists don't get anywhere.
There was a whole fucking... walk in the streets with tiki torches where people were talking about gassing the Jews and nothing happened.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not good, guys.
No, it's not. We're going to go back to the story because...
Yeah, can we please?
We're just going to get
crying.
on a rant. So, the problem is, yeah, so Toontown grows rapidly and includes a whole bunch of amenities, including 110 saloons, because fuck yeah, we love that hooch. The problem with growing a town that big, that fast, is you're attracting a lot of people. But you're attracting every kind of person, which means you're attracting cattle rustlers and thieves, as well as people trying to mine for silver. So, you know, you have a lot of people coming in with lots of different backgrounds. And also at the time, Mexico had a heavy export tax on alcohol and tobacco. And Tombstone is on the border of Mexico, close enough, at least, to the border of Mexico, that a lot of people used that as a scheme to make money. Absolutely illegal,
Wow.
but fuck the government, any government, let anarchy reign supreme. That's my philosophy.
Wow. Mexico, more like Lamesico, if they tax in
Yeah,
liquor like that.
They're taxing liquor and tobacco. All the fun stuff, damn.
God.
Anyway, James, Morgan, Virgil, and Wyatt. Yes, there was a fourth Earp brother, but we don't talk about James. All arrived.
No, I thought you were gonna be like, Wyatt is not someone we speak of.
Oh, Wyatt is the most famous.
I just think the name is funny.
The name is hilarious. It's just it's a very old name. Like, you don't see, actually, you see some people named Wyatt.
Do you
but,
think
like,
that they
it's old.
didn't mention James that often because his name was boring?
No, he just,
Probably.
like, didn't, he was, like, the
In
black sheep of the
comparison to
family.
the other brothers, his name was boring?
in comparison, but like he was the black sheep of the family, as in he didn't like stick his nose in gunfights like the other three boys did. So
yeah, fair enough.
No one really talks about him. So the four brothers arrived to Tombstone in December of 1879. And now, unlike what the movie Tombstone tells you, Virgil had been hired as a deputy U.S. Marshal for the county and had offices in Tombstone days before they make their arrival. Like, in the movie, it's very much, like, portrayed as, like, Virgil's like, oh, man, this town's sick and it needs some law, and I guess if no one's gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. And, like, that's not how it worked. The government was like, hey, you're hired. Go to Tombstone. Hey. And his brothers were like, I guess we'll go to Tombstone, too. Like,
that's
was
incredible.
The vibe.
Now it takes 6 weeks for a job to get back to you about an interview.
Yeah, right? Can't I just be hired as a U.S. Marshal, like, right off the bat and be told, just go to some fucking town in Arizona? All right.
Maybe slightly against your will.
Yeah, slightly against my will. Let me be a rough cowboy that has to go marshal a town slightly against my will. And where was I in my notes? I got lost a little bit. Oops. Yeah, so Virgil is, like, already a U.S. Marshal by the time they get to Tombstone. And with that said, Tombstone didn't really care for the Earps all that much. They were kind of just tolerated. Like, they didn't do anything wrong, but they were, like, just people trying to make money. And sometimes when you're a person who has some infamy as, like, lawmen in the area and are trying to now make money off a bunch of people don't really give a shit about you. Like, inherently, capitalism can be a bad... well, not can be. Inherently, greed and capitalism are bad things, but, like, that was still true in the American West.
I can't believe it. It's been bad the whole time.
It's been bad the whole time.
It was never good.
It was never good. Yeah, it's just the two fucking astronauts on the moon. It's been bad the whole time.
Wait, it's been bad the whole time? Always was.
Always was. Yeah, exactly. But as much as the townspeople of Tombstone were pretty much indifferent to the Earps, the cowboy gang fucking hated the Earps. Because they're the cowboy gang and they're a bunch of lawmen. Doesn't really go together, you know? Just how that works. And when they came to Tombstone, Wyatt had this idea that he was just gonna, like, buy a stagecoach or mining rights and water rights and just ride that shit forever and never have to, like, touch a badge and a gun again. Like, I don't know how he didn't see this coming. It's like a fucking cereal. It's never gonna go that way. And the cowboys liked to wrestle cattle and rob stagecoaches and generally do things that make owning land and stagecoaches and water rights very shitty. So the Earps and the cowboys, like, have a long history of, like, going back and forth of, like, hating each other's guts. And in 1881, the Tombstone City Council passes an ordinance that makes it illegal to carry a knife, gun, or otherwise deadly weapon in town. And you have to deposit said weapons at a livery or saloon before you actually go into town. So, you can own a gun, you just can't own a gun in town. Like...
You can own a gun, you just can't bring it with you places.
Yeah, because at that point...
I wish that was America.
Just like half the point of owning a gun if you ask a Republican.
Yeah, well, they're dumb and
wrong. That's true. They love it. Their favorite part in movies is when a guy walks in and he, like, someone starts insulting them and then he just slowly puts his hand on his hips and he, like, moves his jacket back and there's the holster.
Yeah.
And then the other person who's insulting him is just like, oh, and he's just like, that's right.
You heard it here, folks. Republicans, they got a hard-on for the holster.
They have a hard-on for the holster. They love it. That's the secret hole.
That's the secret hole. Oh, man.
Stir.
Anyways.
So
the holster's the secret hole.
So, so you're not allowed to carry a gun in town. or knife, or, like, other, like, deadly weapon, which honestly fucking makes sense. Like, it's a boom town with a lot of people in it. The Cowboys have already accidentally killed the town, like, sheriff. Like, accidentally, in quotation marks, you know. They were drunk and high, and they shot someone. I don't really think that's an accident. So...
That just sounds like modern day now.
Yeah, right? Everyone else seems to be following this rule no problem, but the cowboy gang decides to ignore this, and because that's how they are, and they're waving their guns about willy-nilly. And tensions between the cowboy gang and the Earps come to a head on October 25th, 1881, when Ike Clanton and the illustrious Doc Holliday, of course,
The illustrious.
get into a heated argument. Because as much as Doc Holliday liked to drink, Ike Clanton of the cowboy gang also liked to drink. And there had been some tensions. Ike, as much as he liked to drink, was also a fucking coward and was, like, gonna rat out some, like, possible, like, members of the cowboy gang to Wyatt Earp. And Doc Holliday, like, caught wind of something, and then Ike, like, Ike, like, mentioned some stuff to Doc Holliday, because Doc Holliday's, like, whatever. And then Wyatt Earp goes to confront Ike about, like, possible stagecoach robberies, and Ike gets in Doc Holliday's face that night of October 25th, being like, hey, you fucking ratted me out. And Doc's like, no, I didn't. You just get drunk and run your mouth like an idiot, because he does. And this argument gets, like, really loud and really boisterous outside the Alhambra Saloon around midnight, and the confrontation gets broken up by Morgan Earp, because Morgan Earp at the time was deputized and Wyatt was not, so Wyatt was like, hey, Morgan, can you just, like, stop Doc from causing a problem? And Morgan's like, yeah, sure, I got you, bro.
I got you.
And then, of course, Virgil shows up, because Virgil's got to show up. He's the fucking U.S. Marshal. And is basically like, hey, Doc, Ike, if neither of you can shut the fuck up right now, I'm just going to arrest you both. And Doc, despite being a drunkard and a terrible gambler, was like, yeah, I know when I'm done, so I'm going to go home. And by home, I mean the saloon, to play more cards and get more drunk. So...
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna head out.
Yeah. And so they do that, and the fight's pretty much broken up. Like, it was just a bunch of yelling. No guns were drawn, no nothing like that. But Ike is completely sloshed, and of course starts, like, throwing death threats at the Earps and at Doc Holliday, and he's like, well, come morning, I'm gonna kill all of you. I'm gonna round up my boys, and we're just gonna gun you all down. And everyone's like, okay, Ike, go home and sleep it off. Just not thinking much of it. But the next morning rolls around, and a bunch of cowboys start swarming into town, and Ike is at the store trying to buy more guns because he lost his guns from the night before. Because he was too drunk. And a bunch of cowboys are, like, loading up on ammunition and guns, and the Earps are told, like, hey, they're out for blood right now. Like, they are coming to kill all of you. And Ike Clanton and some other cowboy members gather their horses and enter town brandishing guns, which, remember, horribly illegal at the time. And Virgil is like, this is bad. I have to go disarm these guys before this gets any worse. Like, I have to go as the arm of the law and say, I'm not here to fight you. I just need you to give me your arm.
Of the law.
Of the law. I just need you to fucking drop the guns. And there's, like, a citizens brigade that comes up and is like, hey, Virgil, we'll help you out. And Virgil's like, no. The situation is way too fucking hairy for that. Like, I'm not gonna have a bunch of innocent people shot, so let me handle it. And by me handle it, I mean me, my brother, my other brother, and Doc Holliday.
Me and my boys is what I mean.
Yeah, pretty much.
Me and my boys will handle it because we don't go in alone, and that's the boys' way.
My brother, and me and Doc Holliday.
My brother, and me and Doc Holiday.
Yeah.
That's my ninja way.
Exactly. And so this is when the gunfight actually happens. The shootout doesn't actually take place at the OK Corral. That was a lie. It happens in this, like, weird, narrow lot off to the side of C.S. Fly's photography studio, which is, like, 6 buildings down from the back entrance to the OK Corral. So, don't know why it's not the shootout at C.S. Fly's, but it
Probably
is the
because they couldn't get anyone to believe that was a real person's name way back when.
Yeah, also...
It's funny, C.S. Fly's still exists in Tombstone today.
Yeah, except...
Well, it also just doesn't sound as good.
Yeah, the OK Corral does sound better, but also, like, C.S. Fly sounds like a modern-day rapper.
You know what? Yeah, that's fair. You found my secret underground stage name. So
I have no words for that, so...
I left you baffled. My apologies. 6 cowboy gang members are waiting for the men in the lot, and Virgil was not expecting a fight, because as he was, like, going to arrest these men, he is approached by Sheriff Behan of Tombstone, who is the sheriff of Tombstone. It's a weird thing, like, I don't know how to say it other than cop politics at the time are fucking baffling. Like, you have Virgil, who's a U.S. Marshal for the territory and county, but Behan is the sheriff of the town of Tombstone.
Okay.
And Behan is completely in the pocket of the Cowboys. Like, he's just buddy-buddy with the Cowboys. So Behan goes up to Virgil.
I mean, why wouldn't you be?
What?
Like... Okay, if you're not buddy-buddy with the Cowboys, they'll just come in and cause trouble. You know what I mean?
But, like, they were causing trouble anyway, and Behan was letting them slide.
Yeah, like, whatever, though. Imagine how much trouble they would be causing if they, if you were mean to them.
I guess. But, like, Behan comes up to Virgil and the other members of this group and are like, hey, I went over there and I disarmed him. Everything's hunky-dory. Psych, he didn't disarm them
I don't know.
all.
That looks an awful lot like a pistol.
Yeah, pretty much. And Behan...
I don't know about that.
Behan sucks ass and is like, yeah, no, don't worry about it. I handled the situation. And Virgil's like, okay, I'm U.S. Marshal. I still have to go look. Like, they're also threatening our lives. Like, I gotta go look.
I gotta go.
And Virgil approaches the lot and sees that they are clearly armed still, to the fucking teeth. And he yells out to the Cowboys, and he's like... So at the time, like, they had, like, come fully loaded, like, guns out, like, right away. And then Behan's like, I disarmed them. And every single member of the ERP posse just, like, puts their fucking guns away and is like, okay, well, situation's over, but, like, we gotta go talk. And so... Virgil, like, comes up in a move that is completely unheard of for any member of the justice system, and, like, very clearly and calmly is like, hey, I just need your guns, like, and then we can chill out. And to that, Frank McLaury and Billy Clanton, 2 of the Cowboys, draw in revolvers and cock them, pointing them at Virgil, and being like, yeah, well, you wanted our guns. And Virgil is like, that's not what I meant. Like, I don't want to fight you.
And they're over there now we get into a 30-minute discussion about semantics and how you should have said what you meant at first.
Yeah, and that did not stop the fight, because pretty much after Virgil is like, hey, don't shoot, I don't want to fight, someone shoots. And it's hard...
I don't want to fight you. It's just like, well, you're in for it.
Well, you're in for it, partner.
You're in for it, partner.
The problem is, with this, they don't know who shot first.
Doc Holliday.
No, Doc Holliday did not shoot first. That is known.
It was Han Solo.
Han shot first. So the problem is, like, it's in this compressed lot. There's a lot of people around. There's a lot of dust being kicked up, and the powder from these cartridges makes it really hard to see what's going on. So 2 shots go off very quickly. And the Earps claimed that the Cowboys shot first. The Cowboys claimed that the Earps shot first. Either way, someone shot first. 30 seconds goes by. Doc Holliday fucking pulls out a shotgun and shoots someone at point-blank range because he's Doc fucking Holliday before, like, getting pistols and going hog wild. But almost 30 shots are fired in just as many seconds, and it left 3 men dead, 3 men, including Morgan Earp, wounded. Actually, I believe, it was 1 cowboy that got wounded, 3 cowboys that were dead. Morgan and Doc were shot. And they were fine. They were like flesh wounds, you know? And Ike Clanton ends up getting away, and actually accuses the Earps of murder, and Wyatt Earp and his brothers spend a month in jail before they're acquitted of the crime, because they're like, yeah, no, this was totally legal. Like, people died, but, like, you're not at legal fault for that. But
I guess.
I guess. Like, they were like, you guys were deputized, and you were trying to get their guns, and then a gunfight happened. Like, oops, I guess this is okay.
I don't know, man. This doesn't... Something's not sitting right.
Something's not sitting right. But this less than a minute gunfight cemented Wyatt Earp and his brothers and Doc Holliday in U.S. history, and ultimately led to the vendetta ride of Wyatt Earp and the death of Doc Holliday. Doc Holliday, I don't need to go into the vendetta ride of Wyatt Earp. That is a whole other story that I will not be covering next week, because I can only do so much Tombstone 3 weeks in a row.
Really? I thought this was your favorite movie ever.
It is, but, like, the vendetta ride of Wyatt Earp can basically be summed up as the Cowboys, in cold blood, murdered his brother Morgan and maimed Virgil. And so then Wyatt Earp became a U.S. Marshal and took his ability as a lawman to the extreme in a bad way.
To the extreme.
And just hunted down members of the Cowboy gang and went berserk.
All right.
And that's the sum of the vendetta ride of Wyatt Earp, is just a madman with nothing left to lose, killing everyone in his path.
You know what? I think if there were no laws and someone had wronged me, I would do the same thing.
No, if someone murdered my brother, I probably would do the same thing. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
I would do the same thing. I'd be like, listen, there's no laws. Nothing matters. Like,
no rules.
What are they gonna do?
Right,
put me in jail?
Fuck the Cowboys.
No rules, just right. Like, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
Like, I am the law.
We're playing for blood. But yeah, so Doc Holliday, to sum up, with, like, not going into the vendetta ride, because it's not that important to this story of Doc Holliday. Or it is, but it isn't. Doc Holliday dies in November of 1887, only 6 years after the OK Corral. And he had made his way to the Hotel Glenwood, which was located near the hot springs of Glenwood Springs, Colorado. He, at this time, was, like, really dying of tuberculosis and was like, hey, I heard the hot springs are really good for you.
He wasn't just fake dying, he was really dying of tuberculosis.
And the horrible thing is, like, he might have hung on for a couple more years, but he went to the hot springs because he heard that was, like rejuvenating. But, like, the sulfur in the hot springs probably made his lungs even worse. And
I mean, yeah, I guess. Yeah, that makes sense.
Legend.
Rip to a legend. Breathing in all that sulfuric air.
His stupid decisions finally caught up with him. And he's in this Hotel Glenwood, and it is reported that his last request to a nurse before his death was for a glass of whiskey, which she denied him, and he was quite irate about. But the last words of Doc Holliday were, and I quote, "This is funny," as he was looking down at his bare feet, and people at the time, like, kind of understood that or believed that to be because how Doc Holliday lived his life, he probably assumed he would have been killed by someone while still wearing his boots. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
Him being like, well, this is funny. Like, this is not how I expected to die. Those were his final words.
I expected to have more shoes.
Yeah, and like I understand his belief that he would have died with his boots on because he had been arrested 17 times. 4 attempts were made to hang him, and he survived 5 ambushes. So, you know what? I, too, would have assumed I would have died with my boots on.
Same. If I was a man like that, I also would have assumed I would have died with my boots on. Or way before him.
Or way before, yeah. But yeah, so Doc Holliday dies in 1887 of tuberculosis. And man, what a life. What a dude, what a life. He just did not give a fuck, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, honestly.
But yeah.
Like...
I didn't really talk a lot about Doc specific in this because I wanted to talk more about like the OK Corral and the like politics behind
that. Yeah, that makes sense.
But it does involve Doc.
Well,
Doc gets tangled up.
You covered like the beginning of his life last time, and you told us that this time was about like specifically the shootout at the OK Corral.
The Okie Doke Corral.
The Okie Doke Corral.
The Okie Doke Corral. As it was officially known in the court records, that didn't happen.
Exactly. But yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And you're sticking to it, and I'm guessing we're at the part of the episode where we do our new thing.
We get to do a new thing, guys. I don't know that was the theme music for. We'll adjust it on the fly, but
we'll workshop it. Yeah,
we'll fix it.
It
was a good first try because this is week 1, but Zach's gonna tell us a story now. Zach already told us a story, but Zach's gonna tell us a different story.
I am going to tell you
more stories
a
now.
Different story. Kind of, sort of. Basically, hey folks, this is a podcast. And as much as we complain that capitalism sucks, we still live in a capitalistic society. So,
we do.
Sometimes we have to, talk about things, talk about products. And we're going to do that for the first time. So, sorry if it's a little awkward. I'm new to this, Take it easy. I'm new. I've never done this before.
Never done this before.
But yeah, so we
every romance book ever.
Every romance ever. And next thing you know, it's a reverse harem. Anyway.
I don't know that our sponsors will love that that's the intro that you've chosen for talking about them, but we'll see.
Hey, they know what they signed up for when they approached us. We were approached by a company called Magic Mind, which is basically a really cool natural, I want to call it energy drink. It's like a little shot of green goodness, I guess is the best way to put it. And we were approached by them to try their product and see how it was and basically talk to you about it as well. I have tried it and I actually like it, but not for they were like, hey, you could try it instead to replace your morning coffee. And I was like, I wake up at 5 a.m. and I like my bitter bean water, so I'm going to keep that. But, I also wake up at 5 a.m., so when I get out of work at 2, I'm absolutely exhausted. And I remember we got these samples in, and I, was like, I guess now's as good a time as any, because it's not, full of caffeine. It's full of, herbs and stuff that is more for cognitive support and natural energy. It's got matcha in it and ashwagandha.
Ooh.
So, stuff that's good for your brain, but isn't oh my god, give me a can of Monster. And so I knocked back one of these shots, and I was like, okay, I feel good. I don't feel like I need to take a nap anymore, which is really good. I came home, and I edited stuff, and I was like, oh, hey, I'm being productive. And I like that. So I've been, for the past couple of days, and for as long as I had a sample's worth of it, I was, taking one after work. Because they were in my car, and it was super easy to just knock back one of these 4-ounce shots of green stuff and be like, all right,
yeah,
there we go, I'm good to go.
And honestly, it's nicer to have a product that has more natural stuff in it than whatever is in any energy drink.
Yeah, no, I don't.
What is in Monster?
I don't want to know what's neon
Who can
about
say?
Monster.
I don't want to know what's neon about it.
But, like, it was cool because I was like, all right, hey, I get my morning cup of coffee and I still get, like, a little bit of a boost in the second half of the day, which is why I started taking it in the second half of the day. I was like, all right, love this. Super easy. And again, it's a 4-ounce fucking shot of stuff. Like, I just knock it back. It's great. It definitely has an earthy taste to it, but not in a bad way, I guess. Like, I'm saying this also to Matt and Meghan, who their samples are in the mail. So, but I enjoyed taking it for the days that I took it because I was like, all right, 2 p.m. rolls around and I'm not dead tired anymore. And as I said, it's got matcha, it's got ashwagandha, it's got a couple of different mushrooms like lion's mane, and all that stuff is like helps reduce anxiety, anti-inflammatory, and well, matcha's just delicious. I love matcha, and it's good like natural
Matcha's
caffeine.
just good.
Just give me more matcha. I love it. That's why it's green. I also do really like ashwagandha. I used to take ashwagandha by itself. It's really good at,
cool.
like, it's a natural way to help reduce stress. Like, don't get me wrong, if you need anxiety medication, take your anxiety medication. But, like, this is nice for people who just get a little bit every now and then.
The ashwagandha used to be in the sleeping pills that I would take.
Yeah, it's because it chills you out without being like, hey, I'm way too chill. But yeah, like, I liked it for my 2 p.m. Hey, I need to get a little boost, but also I don't want to drink a third cup of coffee for the day. And it was nice. I liked it. And here comes the part where I say, hey, everyone, you can go try this, you know? And if you go to magicmind.com/JANWHISTORY, that's magicmind.com/JanWHistory, they have a little promotion for our listeners where you can get 1 month free if you subscribe for a 3-month thing. But if that's a little bit too much and you're like, hey, I just want to try this, they also have a thing where you can get 20% off a single purchase with the coupon code WHistory20. That's WHISTORY 20. Yeah, so with that code or that link, you can, excuse me, get 20% off your initial purchase in January, or if you're like, hey, I've tried stuff like this before and I really like it and I want to be able to do the 3 months and get one free, you can follow that link to get that as well. And again, those links are www.magicmind.com/JanWHistory, and the offer code is WHistory20. But yeah, it is for January, and I know that this episode is releasing a little bit later in January, so if that is something you're interested in, jump on it. And hey, that was our little read there.
All right, you guys are probably
that was our new thing.
tired of hearing Zach's voice, so I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna jump into.
Voice.
I'm gonna jump in. No, I know you have a great voice. We all have good voices, except I can't stand the sound of mine.
Everyone can't stand the sound of their own voice.
I am gonna jump into my story here, just so that we can move things right along. But
Please do. I need a water break.
I am also looking forward to going. Like, I went on their website when they first approached us about this opportunity, and I was reading a little bit about the stuff and like what it's supposed to do. So I'm very excited for my samples to show up in the mail so that I can drink them.
Yeah.
So dear podcasting friends, we are back in the courtroom with my story this week. Those of you that listened to our podcast last week will know that I told a story about rats on trial. And this week we're in Salem.
Massachusetts?
New Jersey.
Oh.
Oh.
I got real excited for a second.
And the year of our Lord is 1820.
I'm a little disappointed.
And there's a trial afoot.
Ah.
Uh-huh. For witches, you ask? No. The trial in question here was for the poison apple.
Matt, you have gotten my hopes up twice in this fucking story already and dashed them both times.
I apologize sincerely, friend. But no, the trial was for the poison apple, which was the other name for the tomato at the time.
Oh, interesting.
Luckily, though, this story isn't like any of the other stories that we've talked about in the past, where a tomato was put on the stand to speak in its own defense, or like last week, where the tomato was given a lawyer to defend itself like a rat. No, this story is held in the arena of a court of public opinion. So this is that
I hear
story.
you.
In the late 1700s, based on, the description or the nickname that it had, the poison apple, people did not super like tomatoes.
Okay.
All I'm gonna say is that I agree with them. I hate them, and I think they're gross.
Raw, yes. Cooked, yum.
No. Nope. No.
I can't argue. I don't like onions.
Here's the thing. I like raw onions. Don't do cooked onions. I don't like.
What the fuck?
I don't like raw or cooked tomatoes.
I don't understand.
It's a texture thing.
Our whole friendship.
No.
I'm so confused.
might be over.
Don't do that to me.
I'm so confused.
I like
so
the crunch
confused.
of a raw onion. Like, I'm not gonna go to a fucking store and like chew an onion like it's an apple. But like, if I have,
I don't believe you.
if I have like little bits of onion in things, I'm fine with that little crunch in there.
That's fucked up.
And if it's fucking cooked to a certain point,
up.
you get it, and it's just slimy and it's gross, and I don't like it.
Okay, moving on.
So moving on, tomatoes were on trial. There were many people in the 1800s that considered it to be a sinful item because it was red in color. And also there were apparently some properties of it that made it an aphrodisiac, which I don't know.
Okay.
If you're out here getting turned
I've
on
seen
because you're eating tomatoes,
eat a fucking
like
tomato, there's no way I'm getting turned on by that.
yeah, fair. I mean, he was a squirter. So either way, there's a gentleman by the name of Robert Gibbon Johnson. Gibbon is not his nickname; it is his God-given middle name, I guess.
Oh.
But he had absolutely had it with people's mistreatment of the tomato, and so he resolved to do something about it.
Imagine that being like the hill that you're ready to die on.
And he was, because according to these people, tomatoes were killing people.
I don't think that's true.
It was, and anyways.
Okay.
So on September 25th, Robert Gibbon Johnson walked down to the courthouse with a basket full of tomatoes. Now, it's important to note that this gentleman did, put tomatoes on things. This wasn't just I had a tomato once, and I've decided to exonerate all tomatoes.
I had a tomato exactly one time, and it killed my father.
Oh, no. So he walks down to the courthouse with a basket of tomatoes, and he stands in front of the courthouse and fucking houses the entire fucking basket of tomatoes. Just one after the other, slams.
This is like you with onions.
Yeah, that's not what I...
You're fucking slamming raw onions like a heathen.
I love that that's become the narrative that literally nobody said.
I don't know, man.
That's if that's what you heard, then I'm not here to disagree. But he houses houses
good.
an entire
'Cause you
fucking
can't,
basket
'cause-
of tomatoes, and I can only imagine that it was exactly like that one guy that would go to the same place every day and eat a whole rotisserie chicken in front of a crowd.
Dude, that guy's a legend.
That guy is a legend, and the fact that he did it every day for 365 days is the most absurd thing ever.
I love that.
But perhaps
It's
we'll
so
talk about
good.
that years from now. when it's
Eventually
when
that
it's
will be
actually history instead of just recent events. So he eats this entire basket of tomatoes, and he does not die. Now, as I mentioned, a lot of people were saying like this is the devil's fruit because, you know, it'll kill you. So he doesn't die. He does get rock hard because it is an aphrodisiac. I'm just kidding. He doesn't get hard either. But he does sort of cause people to rethink their positions on tomatoes. And most of the community that he lives in does a complete 180 on their stance on tomatoes. And they're just like, oh, yeah, it's fine. That guy ate like a whole basket of them.
He's totally fine.
So today I learned that tomatoes in the 1800s were killing people because the tomato itself is very acidic. And more often than not, tomatoes or slices of tomatoes were brought out on pewter plates. And pewter plates were made with high amounts of lead. And so the acidic nature of the tomato would eat into the plate, which would then cause the tomato to have, you know...
Okay. No, I'm hearing you now.
Yeah, you get it?
So it wasn't the tomatoes, it was lead
It was the
poisoning
plates,
the
right?
whole time.
Yeah.
It was the plate the whole time.
So, but because in the
I was gonna be like,
1820s, people
are dumb.
People didn't know what chemistry was, to the same degree that we know it now. People were just like, the tomato's killing people. But in this situation, it was mostly killing people in the upper class who could afford pewter plates to serve their tomatoes on.
So I fail to see the problem.
Yeah.
I was about.
I fail to see the issue.
The last sentence of my notes says, eventually caused the death of some upper crust rich person who probably deserved it anyways. So
Excellent.
eat the rich, or the rich
Fuck those
will eat
people.
tomatoes and then die.
And then complain that they're dying.
I know. They're like, oh, this is a really big deal because we're dying. It's like, okay, what do you want me to do? I can't afford a tomato. Like, what do you want me to do about that?
I'm just fucking Tobey Maguire in the Spider-Man movie. I fail to see how that's my problem.
I fail to see how that's my problem. Wow, what a cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Cut tomatoes.
What a cut on that one.
But yeah, that's wild. That this
that
dude
is-
is just
yeah.
like, the tomatoes are fine. Like, chill, fam.
The tomatoes are fine.
Yeah, just... Tomatoes are fine. Well, we learned a lot in that story, mostly about Matt's onion housing
Yeah, I
issues.
I fully go at him like Shrek.
Absolutely psycho behavior. So I want to dive into my story after I adjust myself on this couch that I'm lounging on like a rich tomato eating bastard. So my story I have just labeled the great panda heist.
The Great Panda Heist. All right, I'm intrigued.
The Great Panda Heist.
You do know I love a good heist.
I know you do. So, fun fact, in Portland, Maine, there's the Cryptozoology Museum.
Okay.
And I went to it a few weeks ago, and this is where I learned about this story.
Okay.
Which sounds weird because pandas clearly aren't cryptids.
I was going to say,
I'll tell
last
you.
time I checked, the Mothman and pandas didn't have a whole lot in common.
Well, so I'll tell you why I was in the museum after I tell you this story, because I think it'll make sense once I'm done. So, I think we all want to go on an Atlantis-like adventure.
Well, yeah.
I think there's, like, of course, like, classic. It's just D&D, but going to Atlantis.
Like,
Here's
if you
the
gave
thing.
me the opportunity to drop everything right now and go on an adventure on a, like, full wooden ship, I fucking would. Like,
I wouldn't,
Yeah.
because I'm afraid of the ocean.
1,000%. Okay, well,
Look, Matt, the ocean's just as afraid of you as you are of it. So.
Hey, here's the
you
thing.
you could be like Mr. Whitmore, who just funds it.
The ocean also killed, like, other explorers recently.
Yeah, well, I'm not other explorers. I'm fucking built different.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, dude, I'm built different. Anyway, so I think there's like something really romantic and exciting as well about like adventures because you get dressed up in like an ascot and a cool hat. And like,
Fuck yeah, Megan.
This is just like a
yeah.
shout out to Megan's D&D characters who always wear ascots and hats.
yeah, I think you just like get really cool outfits, and then like you just end up somewhere different, discovering something that people didn't know existed before. So in this particular story, our main character, our main protagonist, her name is Ruth Harkness, which sounds like a D&D character's name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And she is an NYC dress designer in the 1930s.
Okay.
And she didn't choose adventure. Her husband did. And then he
goodness.
died. He subsequently dies after he chooses adventure. He wasn't built different. He was built like a
He was built
he
mediocre
was built like
at
a lead
best.
balloon.
He was a milquetoast boy. I understand.
He was a milquetoast boy, and the ocean was his milk. He just disintegrated. So Ruth was born in 1900 in Titusville, Pennsylvania, to what seems like average people. There's nothing more to say about
What
her
seems like, sounds suspicious.
seems like they just are average. Like I literally have nothing else written about these people. So, along with being a dress designer, she was also somehow a socialite, which is a made-up job. That doesn't pay money. But it's always like listed on slightly well-off people's resumes who live in New
You're
York
gonna tell
around
me
this
that
time.
socialite doesn't exist as a job when fucking Instagram model exists as a job in this day and age?
Okay, but there is a slight chance that you can make money as an Instagram model. No one is giving you money as a socialite.
Are socialites not just the influencers of their day?
You know what? You're right. All right, you're fine.
They
Fine.
sit
You win.
in front of
So-
a room full of people like, "What's up, fam? Smash and like that,
What's up, fam?
smash that like
Smash
button."
that like button and subscribe. Yeah. Like, yeah, but at the same
Their
time, like,
subscribers are just following them around in the streets.
like at least like with influencer, it's like, all right, like I'm gonna have to like create content. A socialite's job was to get day drunk. Like, let's be
Yeah.
real
That's
here.
so true.
Don't get me wrong. You fucking won. You win at life. You picked the right thing. Like, don't get me wrong.
That's
but like,
so true.
Let's be real. Your job was to get day drunk and gossip. Like, that's what a socialite does.
Dude, I wish that was my job.
Right?
So
There are
people
two
maybe
jobs that I
were
wish
paying
still
her
existed.
money.
Sorry, I hate to cut you off, but I wish
Is it socialite?
socialite and then
Yeah,
like
socialite.
whatever like Disney's interpretation of an inventor was, where I just come up with madcap
Yeah.
things that don't actually work and somehow make a living with it.
Yeah, no, I get that. And philanthropists, honestly, because somehow you already have money and it's never ending.
Yeah, I make so much money in a never-ending stream that I just give it away to other people, and that's my job.
But like no one ever is telling you what they're doing to make that money. They're just a philanthropist.
I don't fucking know.
Like no job named. All right, so Ruth is also married to her husband, whose name is Bill Harkness, and Bill had a dream, and his dream was to find a giant panda.
Okay, weird
I don't
flex,
know why.
but okay.
It was a weird dream. Unfortunately, Bill was not long for this world and died of throat cancer in Shanghai in early 1936.
Okay.
As you so often do.
In Shanghai in 1936. So he died just in time to have experienced most of the Great Depression. Good for
Okay.
him. It was
The best years.
The best years. It was the best of times and arguably the worst of times.
I think it was just the worst of times.
It might. Well, he died before World War II, so it wasn't really going up for the next 10 years. Also, he was in Shanghai, like, he was in China at a really horrible time. Like, World War II there was already heating up.
Oh.
Anyway, so it was time, after the death of her husband, for Ruth to step up and fulfill his dream of bringing back a giant panda to the U.S. Her first step was finding a guide, which she did. His name was Quentin Young, a Chinese-American 22-year-old man who would take her through the rugged mountains of central China. Now, the carcass of a giant panda had made its way back to the United States a few years before. The people of America knew that giant pandas were out there. They just had never seen a live one.
I was gonna say, a carcass doesn't count. We need the real live thing.
Yeah, a carcass doesn't count. And Quentin's brother had helped the sons of Theodore Roosevelt track one down, but they had shot it.
Of course they did.
Ruth... Yeah, of course they did. They were Theodore Roosevelt's sons. They only knew
The gun.
pew pew.
Yeah.
They only knew the
They
gun.
were raised with the gun.
They were no Alice, but...
They were no Alice, but they loved guns. So Ruth's whole thing was she wanted to bring one back alive. So she and Quentin left Shanghai in 1936. She also wasted absolutely no time after her husband died. He died in 1936. She was fucking in China in 1936, ready to go. And they started heading upriver on a steamer towards Chongqing and Chengdu, which is like in the mountainous region of China where like the pandas live. So they hired a caravan of helpers that included a cook and a bunch of porters, because fuck if they were going to carry their own shit. Ruth didn't know if it would be possible to find a panda alive. Not many people knew if capturing one was a possibility or even how to fucking take care of it. Like, no one had ever, except for Chinese people for thousands of years, no one had ever seen one. But she was hoping they could find a cub that they could nurse and like bring back home.
That definitely
Because also you're
sounds
talking about
okay.
You know what's really good?
yeah, definitely.
When you don't know
What?
how to take care of an adult panda, you should definitely abduct a child panda that will never see
should-
adulthood because you don't know what to feed it.
A child panda. I know. This is just panda child trafficking.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it just is. So during
It just
their adventure,
works.
Ruth and... It just works. So during their adventure, Ruth and Quentin developed a relationship because, of course, they did. I mean, what brings you closer than being out in the Chinese
Her
wilderness?
husband hasn't been in the ground for more than a year.
Fuck it, dude. This is romance. Love finds a way. It was the 30s. They were on an adventure.
You're right, my bad. I'm sorry, I forgot that the fact that it's the 30s and they're on their adventure just negates grief.
Zach, everyone is hotter when they're being Indiana Jones. I don't know how to
absolutely.
explain
Why
that
do
to you any
think
clearer.
I own several button-down beige shirts.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm not dumb.
God. So everyone was hotter being Indiana Jones, they they became paramours, if you will. However, reports say that Quentin didn't find her particularly attractive, but he admired her determination.
Well, that's
That's right. I fuck
which is-
people for their determination.
She had a face like a horse, but man, she had determination in the sack.
She had a face like a horse and an ass that wouldn't quit.
An ass that wouldn't quit. So when I read that, I was devastated for her.
Yeah.
Like, if I found out someone said that about me, I'd be like, oh my god. I'm gonna go jump off a bridge.
Later, yeet.
Bye. So in early November, about 2 months after having set off, they reached the bamboo forests that were home to the giant panda. And a few days later, they found a 9-week-old cub in the hollow of a tree. They didn't know if the mother was nearby, but they were like, I don't know, finders keepers, and they took it anyway.
Dumbasses.
They named... It's just like... What a crazy thing to do. So they named the cub Su Lin after Quentin's sister-in-law, and the name is kind of nice because it means something a little bit precious.
Okay.
But only a little bit.
Only a little bit.
just slightly precious.
Only a little bit. Just slightly precious. Ruth kept the panda alive by feeding it powdered milk out of a bottle and nestling it on a piece of fur that she had. She was like, this may not be your mom, but it's a
good
dead
enough.
something, so
It's good enough.
It's good enough. Anyway, so like here we go. And now that they had found a panda cub, their next big hurdle was actually getting this panda out of China. Because when they finally made it back to Shanghai and tried to go through customs, Chinese officials were like, hey, is that a panda?
Put the fucking panda back.
What? No, it's a small dog.
Okay, well, you joke, but just
gosh.
wait. So they're like, is that a panda? And she's like, yeah. And they're like, you can't take that out of China. We're going to confiscate it. That's like a lithium battery. You'll find out what those are in a few decades. And the ship that Ruth was supposed to be on sailed without her as she argued about this animal. And so eventually, after staying in the customs shed all night, because they're like, we're going to put that baby panda in the customs shed until we get that figured out. And she was like, well, it's a live animal and also a baby, and it needs to be fed. And they're like, okay, you go in the customs shed with it too, and we'll figure out these papers. And so eventually, she got the animal out of China because she listed it as a dog.
Okay.
I don't know, dude. So when Ruth finally got back to NYC with her fucking dog panda, Su Lin, the panda lived in her apartment for several months, but then she sold it to the Chicago Zoo,
then it ate
where
her. Oh.
it became... No. She sold it to the Chicago Zoo, and it became the star attraction. And you would think Ruth would be like, I fulfilled my dead husband's wish. I brought back a live panda. I'm done. I can go back to being a dress designer.
Psych.
No. Psych. The following year, Ruth went back to China and found another panda.
No! Leave the pandas in China, bitch!
No, she was a panda sniffing machine. She was getting them out of China faster than people get cocaine out of Colombia. And she got this other panda and she named it May May, and she also gave it to the Chicago Zoo.
Fucking Chicago's like, hell yeah, lady, you just keep going to China and getting us pandas. We don't give a fuck about ethics.
Keep getting those pandas. And so she gives it to the Chicago Zoo. However, at this point, Su Lin, the first panda, dies of pneumonia.
Oh.
Because they took this panda and they put it in a whole fucking other biome. I don't know if you know this, but Chicago is very different from the forests of China. They are not the same temperature.
No.
They don't have the same shit. Like, I like Chicago. It's a cool city, but it is not cool for pandas.
Absolutely not.
And this story is interesting because while I was reading it, I learned that the Field Museum in Chicago, which is like this massive natural history museum, actually has Sulin's body on display. And I think I saw it when I was there because I did see like a massive like taxidermied panda. Mei Mei, on the other hand, lived until 1942, so I don't know.
So she got to see the World War?
Yeah.
Yeah, she got to see at least some of the World War.
Here's your reward. The world's on fire. How about yours?
The world's on fire, and you get to live in Chicago. Congratulations. And again, people had no idea how to take care of pandas. Like, now when they're taking care of pandas, people wear like fucking hazmat suits and they give them the most beautiful enclosures known to man. Like, they have a panda HQ being like, we gotta save these bears. Back in 1942, they were like, fuck it. We've never even seen one alive.
We fucked up so much, we gotta fix this.
It fucks up so much. So, after killing 2 small pandas, in 1947, Ruth dies, probably due to alcoholism. A classic noir, old person way to go out.
Absolutely.
But she did write... Absolutely. But she did write about her adventures in a book called The Lady and the Panda. And the reason that I first learned about this story at the Cryptozoology Museum is because there was a point in time where Westerners thought pandas were cryptids. Like, they had never seen one alive. They had only seen paintings of this bear.
Oh my God.
Old Chinese paintings of pandas. And they're like, where are they? Where do they even come from? And so they thought they were fake. They thought they were like a mythological creature. And part of the museum was like, you know, it's cryptozoology until like you can prove otherwise.
Right. Yeah. Like, that makes sense, but I also hate our stupidity.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, though, a lot of people think that, like, this is another Today You Learned, so good luck learning. Or good on you for learning. But a lot of people think that the idea for a cyclops comes from, like, the skulls of elephants because of the way that they deteriorated. And so it's just like one big eye, but they're also like monstrously large in size. So like if all you have is the information of like, that's like, oh, we've only ever seen a skull that looks like this. This would have to be a tall person with one eye.
You go with what you know. I get that.
Yeah,
which is why most depictions
of
dinosaurs don't have the feathers that most people believe that they have.
Yeah. So I thought this was like a cool... I mean, I thought it was a cool in the context of like things are not real until you prove them to be real.
Yeah.
And like... we obviously know pandas are real, but at one point, there was a time where a lot of people didn't.
Seems sus.
Should she have taken those pandas out of China?
Absolutely
no, she should have left those fucking pandas in China.
She should have just brought people to China to see pandas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what happens when you're determined but not attractive.
Oh my God.
When you got a face like a horse, but an ass that won't quit.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, you know?
Jeez.
It's just what happens. Determined but not attractive.
That should be the name of the podcast episode.
Determined but not attractive?
Attractive but determined. Or unattractive but determined.
That could be the episode title.
Oh, God. It's so funny. What a horrible thing to say about someone you've recently banged.
Recently railed. She was unattractive, but at least she was determined.
Yeah.
Jeez.
She was a decent lay, but not attractive.
Anyways.
I hate
Anyway, that was my story. I don't make the rules. I don't come up with the stories.
Yeah,
I just
right.
report the facts.
I just report the facts.
I'm just here to report
Are
the
the facts that she was unattractive, but at least determined?
That was literally in the story. He said that.
So it is a
He-
fact that she was canonically
She's, like, fine.
not attractive
She's-
woman.
She's an okay looking old timey person.
Nice.
I guess.
Like, if you look up Ruth Harkness, she's like a whatever. She's not bad looking.
I'm gonna look her
she's
up.
just like, yeah, go ahead, look her up. She looks like
gonna look
an
her up
okay
right
lady
now.
who
While you
steals.
look her up, I'm going to talk about our socials because, that's the other thing I'm doing.
I'm gonna be honest
folks.
with you. She's not a terrible looking woman.
She's not a terrible looking woman. Like, should she have taken those pandas? No. But, like, she's not horrible. Is she the most attractive? No. Is she determined? Yes.
Jeez. Okay. Hey, folks. We hope that you've enjoyed listening to our lovely but idiotic fucking show. And if you would like, we'd really appreciate it if you could support us. And by support us, we mean go follow us on our socials, such as Instagram, where you can find us at _triumvirate_productions. You can find us on Facebook if you look us up under the Triumvirate Productions. You can follow us on Patreon if you're so inclined, at patreon.com/Triumvirate Productions, where you can donate to a $3, $5, or $10 level and get a whole bunch of extra bonus goodies. We are really appreciative when you do that because, well, it's nice. It helps us.
It makes us feel tingly on the inside.
Makes us feel tingly on the inside, but also
It helps us feel so determined, but also so unattractive.
But like we do a lot of extra fun things like What the Fuck After Dark, which is our After Dark show. As we kind of previously hinted at the beginning of this episode, we kind of tentatively launched a Discord chat for listeners and starting it off with Patreon members. A lot of our experimental shit that we don't know what we're going to do with, we start off with Patreon. And right now we actually have a stretch goal for if we can get to donations to equal $150 a month in Patreon donations, we're going to do a special bonus episode for Patreon members where we play a history-based kind of TTRPG one-shot, which shall be interesting. So yeah, but again, also, like, don't break the bank. If you can't support us monetarily, like, don't. Then all you gotta do is tell a friend about the podcast or give us a rating or review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Like, the little things that don't cost you any money. Like, we'd appreciate that as well. Like, as much as I'm like, hey, the stretch goal is cool, don't break the bank. Like, that's the last thing I want people to do for us.
Do it.
But
you
yeah,
won't.
that's my little spiel there. Also, again, we talked about it earlier, but like, hey, we're super excited to have our first ad read, and we hope we did good. We just hope we did good.
That's Zach literally begging for them to give him praise.
No, I'm not begging for your praise, but also if, you didn't write it down or anything, I feel like I should circle back and say, hey, if you want to try Magic Mind, you
Try
can
it now.
Try it now. You can get the 1 month free if you're subscribing for 3 months at magicmind.com/JanWHistory, or if you want to use the extra 20% off for a one-time purchase, it's coupon code WHistory20, and that is good until the end of January. I know it's a short window of time, but hey, enjoy it while you can get it. That's my spiel. I'm done. I've said too much.
And with that, we end the podcast, as we so often do, with me saying a sentence that I did on the very first podcast without knowing that it would be a thing that Zach would like, and then Zach immediately went, "Oh, I like that. You should do it every time." And now I'm stuck, ending every podcast going, "What the fuck, history?"